welcome. It's OUR-POV, and my name is Amina Jafar. And today I have a VVIP guest, someone who has worked decades in the oil and gas business, moved to national legislature, and then now to public service. And it is none other than Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tuggar, OON, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning, sir. So how does it feel to be on POV today? Gen Z for Gen Z show.
I feel like Gen Z.
Okay, wonderful. That's a great start. Okay, so I would like to start off, setting the tone in a Gen Z environment. So I just hope you are used to our Gen Z terms like flex and Japa. I don't know if you know.
A little bit. I will.
Okay. So
try
if
and,
I say flex, you know what flex means?
Well, yeah.
Okay. What about Japa?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. Okay, just so that we dive right in, a lot of young people like us believe that, the office of the Minister of Foreign Affairs is just flex and then, they help people to jackpot. So I want to know if this is true and if this is a misconception.
No, as a matter of fact, you see, a lot of the work we do and the accomplishments we don't get credit for because we're the gateway to Nigeria as well as the gateway to other countries. So what we do, we pass on to other ministries, departments, or agencies, or when they need help, they come to us and then we interface with other countries. So I'll give you an example of the recent release of a young man by the name of Suleiman, who was arrested in Saudi Arabia and jailed due to no fault of his. He was actually ill, so he traveled to Saudi Arabia for treatment. And unfortunately, someone at the airport in Kano put drugs in his luggage. He wasn't aware of it. He gets there, because he's looking sick and all of that, they think he's nervous when they're questioning him. So he gets jailed, and it was no small feat to have him released. So he's been released. But you see, the credit can easily go to NDLEA or some other agency, but it is us here coordinating with our mission that do the heavy lifting of securing his release. So we're not just flexing. In the case of Japa, we are trying to approach it in a different way, which is why we have these 4Ds: democracy, demography, development, diaspora. With the diaspora, we are trying to find structured ways of having migration, organized ways, because there is a demand. Europe and most of the northern hemispheric countries have an aging population. We have a youthful population, so there are opportunities for employment, and we want it to be structured in such a way that people go to work in these countries in a dignified manner, instead of going and being treated badly, or they're just going as houseboys or house girls that are being beaten and abused and all of that, or they fall prey to human traffickers and all of that. So this is why we're using the Technical Aid Corps, which is an agency under this ministry that has been sending out Nigerian professionals to African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries since 1987.
Oh, wow.
Since before Gen Z. And you go there, you work for 2 years as a doctor, as a university lecturer, as an engineer, and you get paid for by the Nigerian government in dollars.
In another country.
In another country.
Wow.
And then after 2 years, you return. So you see how structured it is. We're trying to evolve it into a revenue generating entity for Nigeria as well, beyond the African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries that it was designed for, because Nigeria wanted to help African and Caribbean and Pacific countries. You have these more developed countries that have a demand for workers. So the idea is for them to go work, but this time around, we generate revenue. They pay, not Nigeria to pay. So a different form of Japa.
Yeah. Yes, are you listening? Different form of Japa. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Now I know it's not just Flex and Japa. There are a lot of there's a lot of great work being done for Nigerians, young Nigerians, if anything, to be able to excel within Nigeria and outside Nigeria. And I think that's amazing work. Thank you so much for that, sir. Okay, so we're going to move to the next question. I remember, like I said in my intro, I said you worked in oil and gas, and then national legislation, and now public service. So what exactly was the turning point for you that led you to public service?
Public service, actually, personal tragedy. My father dying was what made me decide to go into politics. He was a politician, and that is when you see. You may not be familiar with times back in the day in Nigeria when we used to have military governments.
Yes, sir.
So we lived under military governments. So my father, being a politician, when there was a civilian government, he would participate in politics, run for elections, and contribute his quota for public service. Whenever the military came and chased the civilians out, he would go back to private business. So
wasn't easy.
He died disappointed in Nigeria because he actually even got jailed quite a number of times. When the military come and they're jailing politicians. So I felt, for me to just be selfish and just continue in private business,
his legacy died for nothing.
So I wanted to give his legacy more meaning, and which was personal, and also to give back and to reconnect with where he came from, which is a very rural part of Nigeria. So I was always a city boy growing up, so I wanted to reconnect, and which I did, and I represented that community, that constituency. And then I realized that there was much more to do. You can't just isolate your own relatives and support them. It's better to develop the community. If it is water, let everybody have water. If it is good education, let everybody have good education. Improve the schools, hospitals, the same thing. So this was how I got drawn into politics.
That was powerful, really. That's so far that has been one of the most original stories we have heard, and I hope and pray that you feel fulfilled currently in giving meaning to his legacy.
Well, it's up and down, but
well, it comes with the office, I guess. Okay, so we're going to move to the next question. Like you said, you're a city boy, so I want to assume that prior to this position, you have been abroad a couple of times.
I've been abroad
a couple of times. Okay, maybe a lot of times, maybe.
I confess, these days it's not popular to be Fulani. I confess to being a Fulani man. And we're nomads. We move around.
Yes.
And therefore, I've always traveled. It's in my blood.
Okay. So that's great. So if the fact that, growing up, you had a lot of experience traveling in and out of Nigeria, did you ever picture yourself working in this particular ministry? Did you ever see yourself here?
No, I did study international relations.
Okay.
So at some point, I was actually aspiring to work as a diplomat before I finished school.
Okay.
But then I came back to Nigeria at the time because I schooled abroad. I came back at the time when the opportunities were more towards business for young people. Public sector jobs, being a civil servant, was not attractive. So I missed that time when working as a civil servant was attractive. Because what happened was in 1985, 86, the structural adjustment program was introduced. I was still a student then. And that kind of created a displacement of those working in the public sector, in civil service, because their salaries could no longer afford for them to remain as middle class. Prior to that, being a civil servant, you could afford to buy a car, a Volkswagen Beetle, or even a Peugeot 504. I don't know if you know it.
Yes, I know.
Back then, you could actually buy that with your salary. You could afford to live in a good house. When I was in secondary school in Federal Government College, Ilorin, our teachers back then were all middle class. Their houses were no different from our parents' houses. Some were even much better.
They're living comfortably.
They could afford that on their salaries. But introducing the structural adjustment program at the time, at the behest of the Bretton Woods institutions. So World Bank, IMF, they pressured African countries into adopting that structural adjustment program, which devalued our currency, so the purchasing power of the Naira was less. So it was no longer attractive for a young graduate after NYSC to go into civil service. So I decided, okay, let me try my luck in business. And this is how I just jumped into the deep end. So that is when I deviated from this idea of working as a diplomat and ending up in this building. But here we are.
Your path had already been written. Okay, thank you so much for that as well, Sam. Okay, so let's move into your office now. We've heard the backstory about, the person that you and how you came about this. So we want to know, what foreign policy can young people currently who are watching our viewers, what foreign policy can they really relate to right now?
The foreign policy that has a pride of place for Nigerians, because Nigeria is the leader. One of the major problems we face is we don't know our self-worth as a country.
Yes.
Because there's a tendency for us to always beat down on ourselves. Always think of the negative things that don't work about Nigeria, without realizing that other countries, including developed ones, are looking at us differently. But the more we repeat the negative things, the more you have outsiders also picking up on those negative things, and that is the impression that they. So we're eating away at ourselves. If you look at Africa today, it is the most attractive continent.
Yes.
One, for what we discussed earlier, which is that we have a very youthful population.
Yes.
So the workforce is here.
And they're willing to work.
Yeah, and this is what makes countries develop and grow. When you have the workforce. If you don't have the workforce, all you have are old people or very young people, then who's going to do the work to generate the wealth? So we have that to our advantage. And we're the largest country in Africa, on the African continent.
The giant.
So, and then what we have also today in terms of what they refer to as the fourth, or is it fifth industrial revolution. So if you're looking at electric vehicles, if you're looking at artificial intelligence, AI, and all of that, all of the things that make that possible are here in Africa, and a lot of it in Nigeria. So if it is lithium for batteries, if it is copper, because of the copper that we have rare earths, we have samarium, we have monazite, and so on. So all of these things that we have also makes Africa attractive. And when people look at Africa, they look at the largest country in the continent. That's Nigeria, 230 million people. And within the African continent, you have a continental organization, the African Union. And just like the United Nations has the United Nations Security Council, the African Union has the Peace and Security Council. There's only one country that is consistently a member of the Peace and Security Council. That's Nigeria.
Wow.
And in fact, the Commissioner of Political Affairs, Peace and Security is a Nigerian. Bankole
wow.
Adeoye, Ambassador Bankole Adeoye,
Wow.
someone who worked in this building
Wow.
and has been elected now for the second time. Wow. So after, in terms of hierarchy in the African Union, after the chairman of the African Union Commission, you have a deputy chairman of the African Union Commission. She's a lady. Yeah. The next person is the most important commission is the Political Affairs, Peace and Security, and that's Bankole Adeoye. So we don't look at all of these things. We don't look at ECOWAS and see that whenever ECOWAS has a problem, it runs to Nigeria. It says, Nigeria, you lead. That's why if you look at the roster of those who have chaired the African Union, you will see that Nigerian presidents and heads of state have chaired more than anybody else, because whenever there is a crisis, they say, you take over.
Nigerians do the work. Nigerians do the work. That is amazing. Young people should listen. You should take notes. Gen Z, they're calling on us to be active. Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much thus far. We've learned so much. This has been so insightful. And I'm sure that a lot of young people can now relate on an average scale that this is what's actually happening, and this is how the government, how Nigeria is working. This is what the ministry is doing, to support young people. And I think this is so important to us. Okay, we're coming to the end of our questions, sadly, because I'm learning so much. But I want to know, nationally, globally, our passport, just when you bring out your Nigerian passport, you're a bit scared because you feel like there are a lot of red flags that won't show up, or maybe you're going to be viewed differently because of your passport. So we want to know if there's anything being done to uplift, to fix this particular problem. So, on a global scale, make the Nigerian passport better and, more qualified to compete on a global scale.
So the most important thing is that thing I mentioned about dignity, the dignity of Nigerians. Once people in other countries realize that we hold the Nigerian with high value, and that we will not tolerate for Nigerians being mistreated. And we will not allow for Nigerians being taken out to work, in menial jobs and being mistreated. Rather, if there's to be migration, it has to be structured, using, let's say, the Technical Aid Corps or some structured way, or also even they don't even have to go, because Nigeria is a leader in fintech. So you have the likes of Andela that are supplying, it's Nigerian, and at least it started here, and they're supplying software engineers to Lithuania and other countries far flung. And you can actually work from here remotely, and you're being paid in hard currency from Lithuania, let's say. So that value and the dignity we restore is what would restore value in the Nigerian passport.
So it's an individual thing.
It's an individual thing, but we are trying to coordinate it. And also for Nigerians, when they go out, to ensure that they do not engage in criminal activities, because part of the problem also is the fact that you do have some Nigerians who go out there, they're involved in either drug trafficking or financial crimes, or even robberies and stuff like that. So we have to ensure that when Nigerians go out, there are those that are going there to work, to earn a decent living, and to maintain their dignity.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I guess that's also really helps. Now we know that as young people, we need to hold ourselves in high regard to begin with. We need to have dignity. We also need to value ourselves for other people to value us. I believe that's the message you're trying to press.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm coming to another Gen Z term. I don't know if you're familiar with the word soft life.
Soft life?
Yes, soft life.
That I'm not familiar with.
Okay, so soft life basically just means you're enjoying, you don't have to stress, you're just
jollofing.
I believe so. So I believe You're just living a soft life. So a lot of young people obviously believe that your office comes with a lot of soft life. So we want to know how, when you're actually working and it gets overwhelming, what is that soft life ritual that you participate in? What is that one soft life thing that you do when you're like, I can't deal with the office today. I want to relax. I want to recharge. What is that one ritual that you perform?
I like music. I listen to music a lot.
I love that. We're coming to the game segment.
So different genres of music.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes I also watch movies or series. Or I
any
read.
series?
Or podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Oh, okay. So any favorite podcaster?
I have quite a few.
So save them for the game segments. We're coming for you.
Okay.
Okay, so we've come to the end of POV for this segment of POV. But I'm going to close with one last question. So is there a particular trait that Gen Z possess that you particularly like? Or you would not normally admit it, but you like this particular trait about Gen Z?
Yeah, well, they're tech savvy.
Oh.
For sure, so I mean, they can do things with their phones that I couldn't imagine doing.
Okay, so
that's one thing. And one thing I admire about Gen Z, Nigerian Gen Z, is that they're more into Nigerian music, art, culture than we were growing up, because we used to look up to
the
Western musicians, Western art, Western. So a lot of the orientation was Western, but now you see Nigerians looking inwards at their culture, at their music, at their traditions. If it's not Afrobeat, then it's even some of the musicians that are more political. A lot of it is, like Rarara, his fame, all that sort of stuff.
Yes, sir.
So I think that is something that's commendable.
All right. Okay, thank you so much, sir. And we've come to the end of this segment of POV. So we're going to move on to the next segment. Thank you.